Well, these days, it may seem like DEI mandates are a foregone conclusion. Its messages are all around us. But Robby Starbuck is standing up to corporate America, and he has scored a number of victories for meritocracy. He's become one of my real honest-to-goodness heroes for his successful effort to call out these abuses of customers and stockholders, and he's made them just get their businesses back to their real business. This summer, major companies like Ford Motor, Lowe's, Harley-Davidson, John Deere, and Tractor Supply have ditched detrimental DEI policies, and it is all thanks to my first guest. Please give a real all-American welcome to Robby Starbuck, all-star producer and host of The Robby Starbuck Show. I wasn't kidding when I said, you're a hero, dude. I don't know if you realize that, but you're getting something done that all members of Congress haven't been able to get done.
Well, they're not getting much done lately.
They're not getting anything done. You know, the whole idea of the diversity, equity, inclusion has been a real stain on business, and it's like an insult to a lot of Americans who just want to go in and do their shopping, buy a product, and go home. And yet some of these companies are shoving down the throats of every American policies. What was it that made you say, I'm going to do something about this?
Well, you know, my wife Landon and I initially got a hold of that story about Vanderbilt's pediatric transgender clinic.
Yeah.
And after that happened, a number of people saw us as a trustworthy source to go to when they needed to blow the whistle. One of those people worked at Tractor Supply. And so they said, listen, I don't recognize the company anymore. You need to see this stuff. And to be really candid with you, I didn't believe what they sent me at first was real. So my team goes and we verify it and we realize, oh my gosh, if this is real, we need to pull this thread, because if it's happening at Tractor Supply, it's happening everywhere. And we were correct. It was happening all over the place. But Tractor Supply was the first one, and it was personal for me because I own cattle, I've got chickens, I take my kids to Tractor Supply every week.
Yeah.
And so I realized essentially I'm helping this company fund pride shows in my own town, in my own state of Tennessee, and I'm not okay with that and all this stuff being exposed to kids. So I don't think the other people going in are okay with it either. I'm going to shine a light on it, and we'll let customers make the decision. Because you see, these companies, all the ones you named and many others, I think they came at this from, you know, sort of the idea that their customers were not smart enough to figure this out. You see, I come from a very different place. I think people are actually pretty smart. And if you give them the information, they're going to use it, and they're going to use their wallets as a weapon.
Well, I was just shocked, and you were the first person that ever told any of us that Tractor Supply was funding some of this nonsense. And I'm like you, you know, my wife's got some chickens. Tractor Supply is a great company.
Yep.
And I've owned stock in Tractor Supply because I thought that's a well-run company. It's about rural America, about the values that I share. And then I find out that they were doing this stuff, but they apologized when you exposed them. And here's to their credit. They apologized and they reversed course. And I think as much as we need to say this is wrong that you do it, we need to applaud them and thank them when they decide they're going to do the right thing. And they did.
You're absolutely right. I mean, I couldn't agree more, because the thing is, you know, with Tractor Supply specifically, they were the first one, too. That's no small deal. In corporate America, this complex of fear had spread. So there was this belief among companies that if you go back on this stuff, you're toast.
Yeah.
And so they were really the first one, the canary in the coal mine, to test this theory out that, hey, actually, you're going to be okay. And they didn't just say, we're sorry. They did a full-scale reversal. No DEI, no wokeness. They're going back to what American companies used to be. Companies that just do their job. They do their business. That's it. Provide great service, and people are going to reward you for it, right? And what happened is the market rewarded them. Their stock actually went up after they announced they were pulling back from all this stuff.
Which is, I think, such a significant thing. Once that happened, you found other companies, and you also went to their executives. You were very thorough. You'd done your research. You didn't just go on a wild hair and say, if you don't do this, we're going to, you know, protest your headquarters. So talk to us about what the strategy was getting to the executives, to the decision makers, because there's no point going and yelling at the clerk at the store. How did you get through to them? What did you say to them? that caused them to reverse, whether it was Tractor Supply, John Deere, Harley Davidson, Ford Motor, Lowe's, because all of these big companies, they responded to what you did.
See, each one was a little different, and we actually go a lot deeper than people realize. We even go as far as to sort of look at the background of each executive and board member and kind of get a psychological profile on really where they're at. Are they a true believer in this stuff, or are these people that were just affected by the PR and HR people straight out of college that are essentially trained Marxists, and they're there to spread this woke virus? And so each one's different. You know, in the case of Harley Davidson, their CEO is a true believer. He's actually the guy who founded the B Team with Richard Branson, which is an explicitly purposed organization to spread this stuff throughout global corporations. That's what they want, is new leaders who see corporate America as a function to spread their ideology. So in that case, we actually had to go with more of the heavy-handed approach where it was, we're going to make sure everybody knows. We had over 500 million impressions on that story, and by the time we hit Sturgis, the biggest biker rally in the country, you know, their tents were empty. They had to close their tents down 2 days early because they were so embarrassed by the fact that nobody was showing up. It was a ghost town. And so they really had no choice but to go back on all these policies and reverse themselves. But then there's the companies now. They've seen the great success we've had, you know, with each one of these companies. And we're having real conversations now about the state of corporate America in the future. And it looks something like this. You can either stick with this stuff, where the left is demanding that you use your company as an activist tool for their belief system, or this side's asking not for you to adopt my politics, but to adopt neutrality. Yes, I'm very conservative, but I don't expect every company to be.
Yeah.
I do expect them to be neutral and not shove these woke policies down the throats of their customers and their employees.
Robby, what you just said is the most significant thing, and I hope our audience really lets it sink in. Nobody on the conservative side is asking all these big companies to go out and support conservative causes and make a big stand and wave Christian crosses or any of that. Just sell your stupid products to us. Let us buy them if we like the products. We're buying your products, not your politics. That's what you're telling them. And I think that's brilliant because you are saying, just be a business. Serve your customers, serve your stockholders, and if your individual employees and executives want to go out and give their own personal money to one of these causes, it's their business. But don't use the money that we're giving you as customers and stockholders to insult us and call us bigots. We are back with Robby Starbuck. Together with his wife, Landon, they have released a powerful documentary, and it exposes the ongoing battle for control of the next generation, but more importantly, their minds. I do need to say, this is a mature subject matter, and I think we should say viewer discretion is advised. Here is a look at the influence of social media on today's kids from the documentary, The War on Children.
So would you give your children social media?
Absolutely not.
Not at all.
No.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
Definitely not when they're younger. I don't think under 18.
I would not give it to any child under the age of 16.
I would not allow my children to have social media. I would not let my kids have social media as well.
I think that social media is not good for kids.
You know, looking at this whole landscape from social media, the Chinese influence when it comes to TikTok and AI, do you feel like this is a war on children?
I know it's a war on children. And not just from a malicious foreign adversary, but from adults in this country who are visiting very corrupt values on children, sexualizing them, and doing so in some ways for profit. I think we can all see the evidence of our eyes and our ears.
Especially so on social media.
Especially on social media. And maybe becoming a mom awakened me to this danger, and sort of the scales fell from my own eyes. But like they said, you know, we're coming for your kids.
Yeah.
And they have.
Robby, the documentary that you and your wife, Landon, have put together is really an expose of what's happening to a lot of people's kids. But how many parents really know what's going on with their children in social media and the way that they are being exploited?
Not nearly enough, Gov. Let me tell you, when we did those focus groups with teenagers, someone could watch that clip and think maybe Robby cherry-picked and just put the kids who said they wouldn't give social media to their kids.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, we did multiple focus groups where it was, I think we did 4 all together, and there's many different kids in each of these groups. They're all separated to make sure that we don't get herd, answers where they all just agree with each other. Every single kid said they would not give it to their children because they recognized the dangers, but the thing that they really pointed out to us was how divorced parents were from the reality of what technology is capable of, that they just had no clue what was going on. We had one show us live what they did to avoid their parents' block on them being able to have social media. So they showed us how your phone can essentially have 2 different home screens, one that your parents see and then one you see. No clue, and I'm fairly young, okay? I'm tech savvy.
Yeah.
I had no clue that this was possible. And so how many parents out there have absolutely no clue this is going on? And the film has been, I think, so helpful in that regard to just inform parents about all the dangers, because it's not just social media. That's scratching the surface.
Yeah.
We cover gender ideology, pharmaceuticals, the worst mental health crisis kids have ever had, the politicization of kids, the sexualization of them. Like that woman you saw in that clip, she's a former Facebook executive, and she is blowing the whistle on how dangerous social media is for their kids. And she's not the only one. The vast majority of social media execs do not let their kids use social media.
I find that very fascinating. In other words, it's fine for your kids, but not ours. We don't mind your kids being corrupted by this stuff and sexualized or exploited, destroyed in terms of their own sense of self-worth because of the nasty bullying that goes on. But we're not going to let our own kids do it. And I think what a hypocrisy, what an incredible challenge. This film is available on X, formerly Twitter. If Elon Musk didn't own X, this would never be allowed to be on that platform, ever. So did you get any pushback at all from it being on there?
You're absolutely right that this film would not be anywhere if not for X. Okay, so you can watch the film at thewaronchildren.com. There are multiple ways to watch it.
Okay.
But it just got banned, actually, a couple weeks ago from Amazon Prime. They banned it despite the fact that this documentary is now today, I can say, the most watched documentary of the year. We're at nearly 60 million people having watched it, which is incredible. When we started this out, there was no idea that would happen in the future. But then Elon Musk went and supported the film, and he promoted it. And that did just incredible good. So many people who are not, let's say traditionally in alignment with my politics, they watched the film with an open mind. And we got letter after letter from people saying, listen, I voted Democrat for a very long time, most of my life or all my life, and saying, but you identified these issues that I see in my own kid's life. And now I'm recognizing how politics does play a role in this. And they listed out the changes they're making in their life, as a byproduct of watching the film. So the film does more than just, speak to our own crowd. It really does this in a way where we talk to people from every side. You're hearing directly from the kids who had the double mastectomy at 13. You're hearing from the child trafficking victim telling you how social media played a role in her being trafficked and horrible things happened to her. And you're hearing directly from the teenagers. You're hearing from our lawmakers like Rand Paul. And I think that altogether it gives this picture for the first time of everything our kids are facing today and how we have a responsibility as the adults in the room to step in and stop this before we head down a road that we can't turn around from.
I'm happy to see some states, my home state of Arkansas, we have this phenomenal young governor there, and she's really terrific.
I heard she's pretty good.
She's real good.
They do say she has a what's that last name?
I don't know. She's got some connection to politics in the past. She always says she wants to be a better governor than her dad, and I always say, it's a low bar, kiddo. I'm pretty sure you're going to clear it. But she has started an initiative to have schools who will take these smartphone devices away from students during the school day, put them in a place where they can't access them, so they're not playing on their phones all day, missing class, and doing things that what you've just described, which is really destructive to a child's sense of self-worth when they're bullied and told horrible things. Is this something we can kind of look forward to seeing? That? And I want to say, I don't think it's political. I mean, I really don't.
It shouldn't be.
Because I think Democrats love their children. They may not know how all the time, and maybe some Republicans don't either. But if you love your kid, you don't want to see something that destroys them. So I'm grateful that your approach is not about, hey, we just want to tell the conservatives something. We want to tell American parents something about what's happening to their kids.
That's absolutely right. You know, let's take, for instance, you know, the issue of the inappropriate books in many schools.
Yeah.
There's these books that are absolutely pornographic. And I had a conversation with a set of parents who do not agree with me. In fact, I say conversation, that's a nice way of putting what it started with. Okay, it was not a conversation, it was more them yelling at me. And, you know, I said, listen, I'm gonna ask you one thing. Will you watch a 4-minute clip? And they agreed to watch a 4-minute clip. I pull it up on my phone, and it's 4 minutes from the film where we show the books. We got them from schools. We show them what grade had access to them. We show them exactly what happened, and the parents pushing back against it, and then the kids talking about what they saw in their schools and how they were introduced to these topics that are just grossly inappropriate for the very first time. They watched the clip. At the end of it, they said they were wrong. They apologized, shook my hand, and they said, can you send me that clip? We need to show our friends. This has the ability to change hearts and minds, and policy as well. Like, there's so many ways for us to protect our kids and do better than we are doing, like what your daughter's doing. And, you know, I think every state should be adopting policies like that. Because here's the thing, we can put it a nice way and say, you know, oh, they're gonna have these kids no longer fooling around at school, but it's much worse than that. You've got kids who are buying drugs on their phone. You've got kids who are in the bathroom taking very inappropriate photos, and then that gets used as sextortion against them. And then that kid is in some horrible cycle that leads to depression and then, God forbid, suicide. These policies save lives. And so more states need to adopt it. And a lot of parents, you see, they don't know where to start. They don't know what they can do. And so we did something very important at the end of this. We put together, we always joked, we didn't get a manual when our kids were born. We've got 3, we're on number 4 now, and we're like, there's no manual. So we wrote a manual, a literal manual, and it's free. You go to freedomforever.us, there's a free Parenting Revolution manual, and it gives you all of these different ways you can make a difference in changing not only your own kid's life, but kids in your community. And it's a start for people to be able to say, I have these things on the checklist that I can actually do to make a real difference. And I think if you look at what we've done with DEI and wokeness in this film, nobody can tell me that one person doesn't make a difference, because everybody who's been involved in these projects was the reason they were a success. So every single person, every parent has something they can do, and grandparent, okay? The grandparents are powerful. They have something they can do to make a difference.
You have proven that one person can make a difference. And you and your wife, 2 people, have made a huge difference in this country. Robby Starbuck, thank you for being here. And my guess is you want to learn more about the movie and see the war on children. And you can simply go to Huckabee.tv, click on Robby's guest page. We have a lot of things that we can connect you to with Robby Starbuck, and I hope you will say a prayer and thank God for this man and what he's doing.